I'm standing, but you shouldn't. So let me start with a non-introduction, which is that over the next few days, we will introduce Khenpo Rinpoche on each of those evenings, and in order to have something to say each time, we will not say it all tonight. So if it seems short and terse, it is. I was reminded a few weeks ago that in the very beginning, when some of us met the Venerable Kala Rinpoche, who was at that time, and I suppose still is, he was considered really the kind of ultimate meditation master in the Kagyu lineage, having spent more than a decade on a cold shelf in the Himalayas, and with great reluctance came down from that place in order to teach the Dharma. I remember in his first presentation, he used the phrase approximately that we are about to discuss extraordinary things. And I remember at that time that the word extraordinary woke me up in the sense that I thought, ooh, something extraordinary. And indeed, what followed was a series of extraordinary activities that led to Dharma centers all over North America, this one included, and a raft of people really interested in the Dharma and practicing the Dharma, and some, as we know, engaging in long retreats. So I thought it was appropriate to start with that this evening, because once again, we're about to hear extraordinary things. Khenpo Rinpoche is an extraordinary teacher. He was the disciple of Bokar Rinpoche, who was the inspiration for many of us over and over again to visit India and study with him. And so this evening, Rinpoche is here. I will just say this evening, keep in mind that what he says is extraordinary. It helps to recognize it if you already know what it's called. So it's yours.
Sanje chu dan soje jana chanjo barado dane jazu dage jenzo gebe sona rola benjara sanje robara yo sanje chu ye jana la chanjo barado dane jazu Dage jinso jebe tonai Rola benje zanje drubara yo sanje ju Jona la janjo bada dane jazu Dage jinso jebe tonai Rola benje zanje Rubara yo sahib jo yen medo Rera lenye nyende yenba Sanje hindu mede probai Rogan namda yena jobai yo semje namgi Samba dan loye chera cheda chejong domon tebai chuje golo godo zo Tabalaye londejen zoden demanye mendun roanden zekaden jen kanma bala chanta lo changme gunne sonye baje dam kezo changju tan la wangjo rangyin denye bela longjo be rangjong gunja yala chanta lo jodar lenju gebe yegang tera denye gongba de dam Tora ye jola jende ben bogara doje changla chanta lo Ta taring laryang ene ngarang so chero ta namba so ene ya jalne ene chu cheni chijuge ene ya tukap sangbo 토반델라 에냥 에 가도르 첨보종 엔 대당 찹직도 에 키랑 상말라 토만에 참트타히 될 휴주이
So here again today, many Dharma friends are gathered, and we have an opportunity to engage in some teaching and some receipt of the teachings. So I feel like this is a very auspicious and fortunate occasion. So I want to first begin by wishing you all auspicious greetings or tashidelek.
당은 추세교대 히라게 베 싸와침보래 엔디 추대 나는 도세다 체니 지하게 있냐더니 되감 대양 규메 깨메레 중화 마예바 나서 깨와 망부 원도 아니 레당 아니 야 모남 상부게 아니 더발라 때네 아니 다닝하는 순도 슬렌직 좀 좀네 아니 추체니 지키고 두감데 토바엔 바레
The teachings of the Buddha Dharma are very precious. And we say that the opportunity that has come about tonight for me to engage in the teaching, for you all to engage in the listening, this hasn't come about by happenstance or by chance. It has not come about devoid of previous causes and conditions. So what are these previous causes and conditions? In many past lives, you have acquired good karma, positive actions, and made aspiration prayers. And it's because of the coming together of these elements that you have the opportunity, that we have the opportunity tonight to engage in the giving of the teachings and listening to the teachings.
다리 땀마인 바 ene kenang number so mangbo je ene ya ta be lo chuta mangbo ta lo chuta ni sum he tinde ge reng la ene ta lama ji jen tangba mangbo jal 담배 chu ngene don ene tikba chejong nga dang je ba ge ene ya tine wang dang damga mangbo top 대도 있는 기랑소 냠내양 있는 가라 강담 있는 낭 엔 다다양 기랑소 있는 야트네 망보체 있는 야 개개 라테네 냐마 딱파르히 있는 양추 체니 곰드 낭다 낭히반데 오네 제네야 원자 첨보레 샤스 소남 첨보레.
So many of you have been engaging in Dharma practice for a dozen, couple dozen, few dozen, 4 dozen years. Many of you have met many amazing teachers. You have received the teachings from them, teachings of the common vehicle, of the greater vehicle, of the mantras. You've received empowerments and instructions, and you've been putting these into practice over a very long period of time. And still, though this is the case, still you make the effort to continue to meet teachers, to receive teachings, etc. And I think that this is incredibly wondrous, and you're all very fortunate to have this opportunity and to take advantage of it.
다다랑 ene 수수기 셈라 수수기 때나 ene 추티기 다 펜도 야게 간데 정도 히라세보다 하고 말했어. 이나양 다 로 힙주 납주게 온데 ene 기랑수게 ene 셈 삼바 내당 당 다되게 ene 야든 셈게 에네다 내당선한다 디파로글라트는 요르박한데도 너나 아니 시라기 개발 첨보여레스 추 디갑라 매바당 다다 추 여바 데니 바르도 개발 첨보시라요레.
In general, it's kind of difficult to look into one's mind and see the change that has taken place. It's kind of difficult to know what benefit there has been. But if we were able, if we can, look into the state of our minds now, and for those of you who have been practicing for some time, the state of your mind before you began, whether that's 40, 50 years ago or sooner than that, there's probably been a big change, even if it's not always easy to see. So it's because of this change that you've affected by practicing the Dharma, this is the benefit of the Dharma. And I think if you look into it, you will be able to see that there has been some change and some benefit from your having done so.
And 다다 기랑조 에니야도 에네 따제체나 에네 기랑조게 에니야다 ngoma ikar ngo hipe ene yatne trobo ene chu tane ene yatne menge dedo dang ene kirangso ene yatne chu takba ene yatne ta nyamne che himba dini barge ene semge deje de shara ke chejong kebar chembo yore.
Further, if you look at the state of your mind before and now, and the state of mind of people that you knew, like before you started practicing and these days, and if you compare the state of the mind of people who put a lot of energy and effort into Dharma practice, I think it's very clear the effect that this can have on people, the way it can enhance and increase one's sense of well-being and happiness.
다 너나 추 냠내 세야데 가르스나 다당가랑 쌤데 요르바 동제 저글라 추세 요레스 다 당보네 가랑소 에니야 때네 쌤라 에니야 베 데지 요바 뇨몽바 메바 때네 에네 장줍 그쌤 요바 에네 쌤 기보 요바 된다도 수지 요 말레스 다이나 추르 때네 에네 저 난게다 도사 해당라 소베게 되는 뇨몽바 대다 탐절라 녀보때 뜨는 녀보때네 에네 뜨는 냠네 쳔네 에네 쌤들이야 다 뉴르바지 에네 안로요르스 뉴르바 동지 게네 뜨는 탑라나마 바지라 뜨는 추세 요르스.
So it's for the very reason of affecting change in our mind that we practice the Dharma. So all beings have some degree of happiness in their lives. I mean, there's no one who doesn't have some happiness and suffering. There's no one who doesn't experience any kleshas, and all beings do have this mind of awakening, but it's through our Dharma practice that we bring this to the fore. We fall under the sway of things like anger and desire and aggression and jealousy, etc. But if we use the Dharma practice to employ antidotes when these do arise, then it's certain that this change can be effected, and there's a great benefit that comes from this change. And we say the best means to effect this change for the positive in our minds is the practice of Dharma.
다 상계 좀 된 대지 는 두자 셈제 감 왕보 ene hirap ge zal chejong ene ledang molam pe changma ta de bares khares ene jedan duja koran ge ene tin kamdang samba dang tumbe ge sangje ji chu ene tekba chongu dang ene tekba chebo ene sanga ge chu la sope ge tin chu ji namdang 하장 망보 송 요레스 다 송바 대탐제 노르 키 드나 안 상게랑게 네 덱바치양 메자힌 게와 폰숨 초버제 랑게 셈네 용순들 근데는 상게 템바인 송바데 다 가르슨 랑게 셈 차소 뇨몽베 에네야트네 다 가르세 디게 에네야트네 레사 레냥바사 바텔테네 에네야트네 동안 중거 요레스 tena songda ene ta nyo mungba ene yatine ndorwek tab tena chigla ene yatine ngantu chuyo te ta nyamne chepa na ta ti nangla changdo yo songba resi onde te karde ta karde ba gyawa bano rangi sem ne yongsun dol sitwa rangi sem te ta ndol ko yore rangi sem madol pa rangi sem lesu marung pa ene rangxin tamchela ene yatne ta dongar ke par chengenge ene yatne ta sem marung pa de ene leso rongwa la ene yatne njurwa tongje chigla ene chu sita sangjer rang so ndordune songare.
So the Bhagavan Buddha, he taught many different teachings, and he gave different teachings because of the different capacities, the different inclinations, the different intellectual aptitudes of the beings he encountered. Further, depending on all the different karma that all the sentient beings have had or have accumulated, and the aspirations that they had. So since beings are all different in these aspects, the Buddha gave a great many types of teachings, we can say. Teachings that were in accord with these inclinations, with these aspirations, with these wishes of the people. He taught what we call the foundational vehicle, he taught the greater vehicle, he gave the teachings of the secret mantrayana, etc. However, if we wanted to condense all the Buddha's teachings into one quote, we could say it comes down to this: don't do even the slightest wrong, engage in all the virtue that you can, purify your own mind. This is the teachings of the Buddha. So the first one is don't do even the slightest wrong. So we come under the sway of these, what we call the afflictions, these negative states of mind. And whenever we act with our body or speech out of this negative state of mind, we say that's accumulating negative karma. And whenever we accumulate negative karma, the result of that is always going to be suffering. So the first thing we need to do is not engage in these negativities. And further, all of the Dharma, we can say, again, is an antidote to these negative states of mind. It's an antidote to these afflictions. And then the main thing that we have to do, like it says in the third line of the prayer, is we need to tame our own mind. By tame, we mean we need to make our own mind workable. We need to make our own mind more something that is going to be a benefit to us. So in this way, this brief quote, we can say, summarizes all the teachings of the Buddha. And what this comes down to, again, is we need to change our minds for the better.
and Tindel capsule, and some big logic, Kuranki, Langila, Yore. Simji soon, I tamjil something unzing lot yore. That thing unzing law, yoba tell a tene, that Yomong Shenda tell a tene young yore. Tell a tene less of yore. Less about tell a tene didn't dribble to one young yore. Then I thought that's what the Karzana. That doesn't the theatre. Dancing go in the yatine, that not to touch and chena and the daddy, then trouble hammer. Oh, this on the time, do you think I do that in Zimbic Lotte, Dalco Yore? And a Mubor now and the times in the ranking trouble hammer. Ranking Matum Nayan, so it didn't pay Dembal, but Mubot took to Bandabo, but Tersuk Dabo, Papa, Demba, Jura Mappa, Tending and the Yore. They are also true at it, Manam Tabere. Oh, that doesn't be lot tell a ten, and they are hints as in Jongore, and then Ubo Madrub night and the Ubola in the Atin Zend or the child. And that's on the Tata thing to do you. That check your check what cuts dance executed. That dance it and don't stop tonight and send out your monk somewhere in the Atin, Ranachete and the Atin, that young to it.
So this object of our practice are, again, what we call these afflictions, these negative states of mind. And we could ask the question, what's the source or the root of these afflictions? And this is this clinging to this sense of self that we have. If we investigate this sense of self, we can come to clearly see that it actually doesn't exist like we think it exists. But not doing so, we become confused, we fall under the sway of impure states of mind, and we think that we truly exist in an independent and permanent and unchanging way. And when we have this as a foundation, it's natural that the afflictions, these negative states of mind, are going to come from there. And whenever we have afflictions, then we're going to engage in negative karma. And if we engage in negative karma, the result of that is always going to be suffering. So, what we need to do, what we need to eradicate is the source of this entire process. And the source of this process, again, is this clinging to this false sense of self. So we need to learn how to look into, how to investigate this sense of self to see if it truly exists or not. This is the focal point of our practice. This is what we need to tame within our own mind. And it's not only the case that this sense of self doesn't exist the way that we think it exists, but also all outer phenomena. They appear to us to be so solid, so true, so permanent, unchanging, and stable. But this also is actually just a confused way of thinking. They exist more in terms of like a dream. They're more like dreamlike appearances. So to begin, what we need to do is work straight, go straight to the root of this entire process and tame or get some insight into the nature of this mind that thinks that the self truly exists. And if we can do this, if we can come to some certainty about this or tame this confusion, then the things that arise from it, the afflictions and then the negative karma and the result of suffering, all of those will naturally fall away because we've taken care of the source.
Geng bate and it gave it toss and endure top in yata tablam carioresta so terra. Da dancing thing and the Cuba Nike da to tabek lot coma in the church jeba tamje in a dancing get in the nearball and dogna and geng about tamje and Korangi in the Atene da gave it in the toss your to grace. Dante Hukchambo, Chene, Yona, and then I gave him a card trap by Hinaya, don't share my dobe, gave it in taller, your set in the Kalakabore. Terrason data, King gave it, draws in your top down matop, said so in the Atene, that church about Tamje, dancing it in the Niambola in the Atene and draw top down matop la ra.
So for this evening's talk, the main topic is turning adverse conditions into aids on the spiritual path. So, whether we're going to be able to do this or not actually depends upon the degree of ego clinging that we have in our minds. If one doesn't have much confusion or clinging to this erroneous sense of self, then when one encounters difficult or adverse circumstances, quite naturally, one will be able to bring them to the path or to use them. However, if our ego clinging, what did I just say? If you don't have this strong sense of ego clinging, then you'll be able to very easily and naturally do that. However, if you do have a very strong sense of clinging to this illusion of self, then when you fall under the sway or when you meet these adverse or difficult circumstances, you can forget about bringing them as aids to the path. It's really just going to be, it's only going to serve to increase our suffering and confusion. So, whether we're going to be able to use these adverse conditions as a positive means for making spiritual, as a positive means for spiritual development, again depends upon whether we have used our Dharma practice to tame this confusion within the mind.
다당가랑 소티네 코르왈레 네디오레스. 코르와세 아드카레스나 코르빅 체니 동안 저랑 히레스. 동안 때 강을 때네 종아르스나 다 이제 저 교당 깽에 발 때네 이제 중요하레스. 다 코르발라 이제 때네 나도 다는 동안 때 이제 너다 깽에 바샤다 라 때네 이제 중요하레스. 안 카시에서 발라 안긴 상보양 요래 대화양 요래 코르발라 동안 뭐 코나다 레메도 대화 요래스 근데 삼바 요래스 얘네 다들 안도 코르비게 대화때 대화 뭐만 말해서 대화 따르 나와레스 대화 따르 나와에 비김데 카르 대화때 단 줄와서 안면 딱 봤대 봐 줄와서 안면 게 지나 다들 대화 뭐 말해서 얘네 다들 안도 대화 따르 나와데 그 동안 연로도 와서 딱 봐래 메도와 그 동안 연로도 와 동안 연로 봐 인상 얘네 연결이 동안 다들 대화돼 다들 내가 대화돼 동안 연로비 쳤나 얘네 연결이 동안 어다 ቄ 되나야 된다데 ቄ 상본 라보 지여네 양 얘네 거기 다 ቄ해 발라야 연로요 그래서 된다서다 되네 ቄ다 가래 채송나야 ቄ 가래 채송나 될래네 나도 다 녀보때네 아니 가르다 녀몽게 가르다 녀몽 단제게 네 되네 다 녀볼라자 땡토바 ቄ 바다다 탐제 되네 그다 디왕도 마송바 ቄ 왕도 마송바 근데 주총와이나 나도 다 ቄ 람제르선한다 게베 트롤라 에네 되네 로트 그래.
So now we all find ourselves in what we call in the Buddhist tradition samsara. Samsara means this round of birth and death over which we have no control. That has come about because of confusion. So, and we call this samsara. So what is the nature of this samsara? And we say the nature of taking these unintentional rounds of births and deaths in this way, we say the nature of this is suffering. We're always going to experience suffering when we find ourselves in this situation. So where does this suffering come from? It comes from, there are certain causes and conditions that lead to the suffering. Some people think that suffering comes about when we meet these negative conditions. And some people think that, samsara is not actually the nature of suffering. There's some happiness actually that we do experience in this world. But when we say that samsara is the nature of suffering and that there's no true happiness, the true part is very important. When we say there's no true happiness to be found in this samsara, what do we mean by that? We mean that although there is the experience of having, pleasant feelings and encountering pleasant circumstances, we say it's not true happiness because this happiness doesn't remain constant. It's not unchanging, it's not permanent, it's not stable. If it were true happiness, it should have these qualities. But this happiness that we experience in this confused existence isn't unchanging, it isn't stable, and it isn't permanent. So we say it's not true happiness. So what we need to do is we need to be able to use all of these circumstances that we encounter to aid us on our spiritual journey. And another sign, when we talk about this happiness not lasting and changing, we say that this happiness that we're experiencing now, we actually call it the suffering of change. It's the suffering of change because since it isn't stable and it isn't lasting and it isn't permanent, when we lose whatever that positive condition was that brought about that feeling, there's a sense of loss in the mind or a sense of suffering in the mind. So that's why we say that the very happiness we experience, because it's not permanent, it's actually going to lead to a state of suffering in the mind because it's not going to be there forever. So what we need to be able to do is we need to find the tools to be able to use whatever we encounter in this world, be it positive or negative circumstances. We need to find the tools to use these positive and negative circumstances to undermine this confusion, to undermine these afflictions that arise in our mind. If we can do this and then not be carried away by these seemingly adverse conditions, if we can not be swept away into suffering that might other arise, but if we can learn to use these to make spiritual advancement, then of course this would be very good and they become friends to our virtuous practice. These negative circumstances can be friends to our virtuous practice.
Oh, rangi ina che dunor longjo ina ten ta chi chakpa to kumal cherba la sopa te do ta chi ke ina gen ro shi nang ge ene so so ta lu la che ina na za ta sem la ina ten chi chakso nyomong be ke ten nam do ge gen la te ne pe sem la miso be ke ina ten dongar te so yong re ta do gen ngen ba re ta di gen ngen ba te ten changjob lam la ene khanre de gyor ko se na ta 다시 휴바 나게 다 나랑 인데페네 남도 착소 녀모 바 혁천포 지양도 샘 기보요 말했어 다들 기보면 다 가르삼로 땅 것은 다 들려야 녀보 때네 샘제 탐제자 있는 야트는 녀모 바 남도 제 있는 희망을 줬네 근데 답은 동안 연구 요래 삼네 아니 샘제라다 참바다 닝제 공 랑인데 답은 동안 연구한테 jume gemela chungwa mare kewa ngoma la nganang ke le ngempa mangbo sabe ke tenen rebel la tenen chungwa res ta rebel tenen chungwa yen ta nge ne thome ne sabe ke tenen lenge thamji 단다 차소 뇽 그 남도 혁천보 기보면 봐 뒤 고쳐버려 삼단 대마스 샘진 탐지에는 뇽몽 탐지 강해요 나봐야 내는 뇽몽 뒤게 고쳐나 샘진 탐지 뇽몽 매파 해당 매파 때몽 매파 나절 매파 단진 해와 현에 안에 상계지 금방 톱 장줍지 샘 것이 뒤올래 잡으려 삼 대전에 딱 텐데는 가서 삼로다네 바 동네 맥바 곰바당 다 냠도 텐데전 다 탐람 땡고요래.
So there are many different kinds of conditions that we meet in our lives. There are outer, so-called outer conditions and inner conditions. So a negative outer condition might mean, having some enemy in this world, having somebody defame you or put you down, or maybe somebody stealing your wealth and things like this. We call these outer negative conditions. And an inner negative condition consists of things like sickness in the body, or worry, or anxiety, or any of these negative states of mind that arise. We call these inner conditions. Whenever we have the afflictions such as pride or jealousy or anger raging in our mind, this is a source of suffering, and these are inner negative conditions. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to bring these to the path to further our development towards awakening. So how do we do this? So let's say, for example, we're experiencing a lot of thoughts that have to do with these afflictions, strong afflictions. Of course, this isn't a pleasant experience. So now how can we use that situation to further our spiritual development and move towards awakening? We can reflect that, not only us, but all sentient beings all beings experience these negative states of mind, these afflictions. Because they have these afflictions, this leads to great suffering. So reflecting on this, understanding this, we can then turn our minds towards something positive. For example, meditating on loving and compassion, loving kindness and compassion for all these other beings who also experience similar states of mind that we're experiencing right now. So now instead of being overcome or consumed by these feelings, these negative feelings ourselves, by turning our minds to others, turning your mind to another and meditating on loving kindness or compassion towards them, you've now taken this negative situation you're in and used it to accumulate virtue. Further, you can also think that this suffering that you're experiencing now, it hasn't just come about randomly. There are causes and conditions for all of the suffering that we do experience, and these are the negative actions that we've accumulated in the past. This present suffering is just the result of those negative actions that we've done before. So in this way, you are now taking your mind away from this present suffering and reflecting on the truth of karma and causes and conditions, which then makes us more careful in the future. So again, we've taken a negative situation and used it to reinforce a truth of the Dharma, the truth of karma, cause and effect. And further, you can also think that all of these negative feelings that I'm having now, all other sentient beings, I and other sentient beings have also accumulated a lot of negative things in our beginningless lives from beginningless time. And this negative feeling that I'm having now, may this take the place of all the suffering. May all of this negativity that these other beings have accumulated, because I'm experiencing this negativity now, may they be free of it. May all sentient beings never again have to experience these afflictions. May it be gone. May they never have to experience anger and jealousy and pride, etc. And further, may in their mind streams, in their beings, may they give rise to the causes for attaining Buddhahood. May they give rise to bodhicitta. So if when we encounter negative situations, whether they're outer ones or whether they're inner ones, like we just spoke about, if we can use this inner suffering that we experience to then train our minds in virtuous practices, then these negative things that we are experiencing, they actually become friends to our practice of virtue.
Danda was in a drachek mabasuna, dracho labiunga, dracho mabasuna, draja labiunga, dratan tayomars. Teve tayin no by jenge dratela chambatang, ninje gomne, and da gengete, no by chebik gengete, and a changchup lam la candid yorgosna, da no by jenge dratela chambatang, ninja gom. Korang in the Yatin, Marik by Nyomong Bata, Danzenta, Marik Bake, Wang the Song, and a Tangala no but separate. Son, and the Korang in the Yatan, Detabu and the Maung Bal, Detabu and the Noba Magic Cave, and the Changjup Sam was a you like Yatumge, and Tendaji Young Kibar, Molami in the Yatin tap. Tendichan and Chike in the Yatin da. Mapa Maze and the Tamje Yat, Nyandia, and John Royer, so young in a dike, no Pachevic, Dongar the young Yamare, go Jang Abate and the Cochangjuk Lam, Jorson, and Deva Top Young. No, but Devalta, ya, Pembale and your Top Gioris.
So another example, let's say there's a person who's antagonistic towards us and harms us in some way. So if our response to that is just to get angry in return and to try and harm them back as a response, then what's the result of that going to be? Is it going to be the case that it's going to eliminate our suffering? No. In fact, the suffering, the confusion, the anger is probably just going to increase. And sometimes we think, oh, if only I could get rid of this one person, you know. Sometimes, in a very coarse example, if you have like, let's say one enemy and you kill one enemy, then you get 10 more because you killed the one. You kill those 10, then 100 more come. So in this way, that's not a very skillful, there's no way actually to rid ourselves of circumstances in that way. So there are better ways to deal with the situation. So you have someone who's causing harm to you. If instead of responding with the same kind of anger, if you can then use the opportunity to reflect on, again, loving kindness and compassion. So this person who's harming me, why are they harming me? They're harming me because they themselves have fallen under the sway of ignorance. they have ego clinging. They've fallen under the sway of the afflictions. So this actually should be a source or an object of our loving kindness and our compassion. So if we can use this opportunity of being harmed to develop these positive qualities of loving kindness and compassion, this is turning an adverse condition into a friend of virtue, or something that's going to allow us to progress. So we meditate on the loving kindness and compassion towards them. We just reflect on the fact that they're also confused, just like we're confused, and that's why they're harming me. So we make aspirations for them. May they be free of these afflictions. May they be free of these negative actions that are just causing more suffering for them. May they give rise to this mind of awakening in their being. It's important to respond with these types of attitudes and practices, and to make aspiration prayers in this way. And then if we can do like this, then when enemies do come, when we experience people being antagonistic towards us, we don't engage in this cycle of just creating more suffering and confusion. We actually can use this negative situation to turn it into something positive.
Rat locked the donor chick to do same mambo, Saja Jachimbo. Nangla in that in the Serta, Moldan, and the Kujela Soba, and the Chalash, Mambo Yod Lama, the Petchupore. Tanyamachela, Chapachimboch Labras, Chapachimboch. Labne, and the cheek in the Yatan Nubota, Nangi Nubo, Chatan, Captain Malupa, and the Chapatic Johnson Bades. Chapatroson Bades. Tama Tado, and a Konanke, Ya, Niebotin, Genge, Da, Sanjup Kalam, Jordan Wades. That then it Chabat Lape, Ninja Huk Chapo, Ski. Da, Ne Korwa Toma Mebane, Semje Hendal, Junor Lungju, Chapa, Yab, Guma, Gu, Go, Gor, that Tig, Name, Drebu, that Tadangal Korwades, Name. Tenda the Tang, Korwa Toma Mebanes. Detta will lang and Basabik, Dikwatamti, Tata Dik Tan over yours. And it's Chabakona in the Yatape, Cadence Bochitades. Nega in the Yatine, Batun, Dembeke, Nupo, Detamje in the Korang, Trossing by that Kobe in the Yatine, Ne Gazeta, Dadu, Dembaticate, Nemo shot to Bath, you somewhere, and Chabat back with the Cadence boy, some. Changjup Sam was a gum. Chabat be garden simple in Basam, the Chabati Chew told Lamana, Seven Lamana, gone, the Telea Sita, Tado Sorbatam, that cake garden simple, Chilap simple, take it to the Chilap Latene, and the Tang again in the Yatin Pe, dancing in the Yatin, Yambotan, short to what your song, son, and Tinnichen, Tamata to Conga in the Tene, that Chaja Chimbo, Nelok turned dog. Changjup Sam was a deal like key, and the top I pay, Tindi give it. There's on that in the Korang Lamata, Chapati, somebody. Chapik sure day, Yamar, Mutu sure day, Yamar, the cooking and Bachel Tene, Tella and Tene, Sajacham was all good to talk about it, Changju Sam was you'll give it. The day is a tin touch, Chapat, Garden Simboy, Savilama, tell Sora Dagoyas.
So I have a story in connection with how to do this. So in Tibet, there was one Lama, and this Lama was quite rich. And being rich in Tibet means you have a lot of yaks, and you have a lot of horses, and you have a lot of sheep and goats. So outside he had a lot of animals, right? And inside, of course, he had many precious things as well, things made of silver and gold, and many different precious jewels, and etc. And one day, a bandit came to his place, and he was able to steal absolutely everything that this Lama had. And as soon as this happened, this Lama was able to use this negative circumstance and use it in a positive way. He could use it to advance himself along the path of awakening. So what did he think? He thought, oh, today, all the negativity I have engaged in from beginningless time and all my births, all the times that I have stolen from people, all the times that I have deceived people, all the times that I have acted in this way, now all of that negative karma is ripening in this very circumstance where this thief has come and he is stealing all of these from me. So by virtue of this, may all of this karma that I've accumulated over such a long time, may it be completely eliminated. And by the power of his aspirations and his pure attitude towards us, really thinking truly in this way, in a very genuine way, he immediately came to consider this thief to be very kind, even in that very moment. And because of the purity of his attitude, it's said that since this thief was taking all of these things to which he was so attached, and because he could use this opportunity in such a pure way, in that very moment he gave rise to the highest realization of Mahamudra. Mahamudra being the direct insight into the nature of one's mind. Further, genuine bodhicitta. Bodhicitta being this deep compassion and loving kindness for others, the wish to establish them in complete Buddhahood. Both of these qualities, he gave rise to the realization of both of these qualities in that very moment. So from that time forward, in this tradition we say that the person who points out the nature of your mind, the person who affects the realization of this deep care for all sentient beings, the person who causes these things to arise in your mind, we call that the root lama. So from this time forward, he considered this thief, who was not a Dharma practitioner by any means, he's just a thief. But it was because of this circumstance that he had this opportunity to do these meditations and to turn this negative circumstance into something so positive, he supplicated this thief at his root lama for the rest of his life.
다 당보 있는야 되니 kim바래 아니 다 부메다 냠도 창사교 부구니 좀 프로젝트 pomo제니 또 전에야 다 저당 추냠네 낭다 난거 요래때 다공배 창조 선발에 해내는 히타게 있는 되니 다 효침보제 연구야 말에 다 되네 니마적라 되네 다 제메티 나자 효침보 나니 요랑보 나네 아니 타마테는 안 맞아봐세네 에네 총송바래 되네 프로젝트 pomo지어 때 림베 힌두 로직 참라 에네 부제히 로니기 참라 부현다데히 아 도세도 말해 다 대송자 되네 다 코르반들라 에네야 닝보면도 다 은혜 전에 에네야 되네 코르베게 에네 챙인데 다 니라래도 다 추여지 맞잖아 탑면도 고네 에네 그런 게 유노롱조 탐제 에네 봐 추저라 파 땅네 에네 그런 랍도 종네 다 갈때 에네 추배 효적보 에네 냠네 체네 에네 추배 공방 탑송 이렇게 절대 말해서 다 되도 에네 깽에 남결 때네 에네 정말해서.
Another example is a famous lama of this tradition, the unequaled Gampopa. So in the beginning, Gampopa was a householder. He had a wife and he had 2 children, a boy and a girl. And then at one point his wife got very sick. She was sick for a very long time. And eventually she died. And then slowly, like a year after that, then one of his children died. And then another year after that, the other child died. So based upon these very strong experiences of suffering, he really came to see that there's really no true happiness that can be found in samsara. Now, he was a bodhisattva, so he did practice dharma somewhat before, but that wasn't his sole endeavor. He was looking after his family in a worldly life. But based upon losing all of these people in his family, he then gave away all of his wealth. He became a monk and started practicing very intensively. And based upon this practice, he attained the state of a fully awakened being, or a siddha. So this is another example where someone used negative experiences that came in their lives, and they used those experiences to propel them along the path of awakening.
다도 나도 베이기 터는 데서 있는야 켄고에서 배든다 정도 멜라데 바에네 드네 깽에 바다 때네 두비 고망 타고 거다 와 아고당 안에게 유노롱조 창마 쳐 요보고 되는잖아 때네 다 되네 드라망보 있는 양 돌해당 왕게 있는 야 되네 다 저도 담제 텄 냥알라 때네 근데 밤에 봤어 엔튼 타마다 안 줘봐지네 되네 운에더네 있는 야 라마마르파 때네 까와빠도 매봐지 저도 담제 있는 토마킹 해봐지라 때네 에는 깽에 됐더니 장줍 그 람리야 되네 jorne 좀 고망 탑송한도 와 다트 좀 빼래.
So it's important for us to understand through these examples, and there are many examples we can look to, many other examples we can look to, such as Milarepa. Milarepa is another very famous Lama of this tradition. So in the beginning, his family was quite rich, but then his father died, and then his aunt and his uncle, they sort of took over the family. The children were quite young, and the wife wasn't strong enough, so they stole all of the wealth that Milarepa's mother and sister had. Not only did they take all their wealth, but they made them servants in their own households. So he experienced a lot of suffering because of that. And then, having nowhere else to turn, the mother sent her son away, sent Milarepa away to study black magic, to get revenge on the aunt and uncle. He studies this black magic, and then he kills a lot of people because of what they had done to his family. But then eventually, strong regret, deep regret, arose for the actions that he had engaged in. And then he sought out his teacher, another great teacher of our lineage called Marpa. And then he was put through many difficulties, and he also attained the ultimate state of realization in that lifetime. So this is another story where someone encountered difficult, negative circumstances in their lives, and they used it to propel themselves along the path to awakening.
다 가서 남다른 데와 양에 배치 휴바이나 다 책동급장 앞중 알고 벤젤라타 넘버시 휴사야 또 로베글롱바 리모트 플레스 다 배사자 동바레스 튼게 강요 말레스 다 되네 애니야 야메게 되네 마오쩌동게 다 차장세네 애니 다 야할 조용 말레스 저도 다야 Then Yewa, Sama Nisha, Yamiko, Shobarder, and the Gomba, Yuchala, Satang, and the Ta Garce Yamiko, the Shorat. Ta Jahal Labare. Ta Jahal Peptu, then Ta Lama, Message Mambo, Rinpoche Togne, Japsekal Rinpoche, Jawan Kalmapa, then Dunjon Rinpoche, Tingo Chenze Rinpoche, Sopek Lama, Tizen, Tampa Pet, drink pet, check time. There's on Jane, and then sure, massive mambo one long tail. There's a Hibades. Then take up the time was a song about this. That mouth said on the Pecadian symbol dogs. That pearl and Eman dogs lad the year by night. Lama Tezo, 10 time young in the 2 year matters. The Kayeta comes on per kilometer, don't like a sergeant dog, the Kaka Mota Yoma, the Yoma, the Lama Kawaja together, then the true Kawashu together. Oh, that in it. Mao Zedong garden la tene, then the Lama Mongbo, and J. Chu Mongbo, Hugh, and the Yaped Chu Jack in the Rawang Chatang top, Jarlong by Lemne. Then the Mao Zedong garden, then Chongbares, and when I tell in the Tinisong that is all, they got Jang and Lamjerke in the Tinyamne, then Drevikitin in the Ata song this.
And another example, closer to us, Kyabshe Rinpoche. In 1959, he was at his monastery in western Tibet, as Rinpoche said in English. It's a very remote place where there aren't many facilities, no roads, nothing. It's just really empty. And based upon the Chinese invading Tibet, Mao Zedong sending his armies into Tibet, Rinpoche fled. He fled to India. He had to leave behind his mother, his father, all of his relatives. He left behind his monastery, all of the precious things he had in his monastery, and he came to India. And once he came to India, then he met many amazing teachings, like one after the other. There was his principal teacher, Kala Rinpoche, Dudru Rinpoche, the Karmapa, Dilga Khyentse Rinpoche, many eminent teachers and masters he was able to meet. And not just meet them, but he was able to receive teachings from them, receive empowerments and reading transmissions and precious instructions. So at some point Rinpoche remarked, "Oh, Mao Zedong, he was very kind. Had I stayed at my place in western Tibet, I wouldn't even have heard the name of these teachers, let alone had the opportunity to meet them and receive instruction and then attain the realization that Rinpoche did." His monastery is like thousands and thousands of kilometers from where all these lamas lived in eastern Tibet. So he was able to look at the difficult experiences he had had in his life and see that these difficulties can actually be a cause for furthering one's practice of Dharma.
다도 기후 담바 쪽에 되는 남달 송당 대동안도 빼제네 되는 경에 남제 냠된 저당 독생발에 내가 가담비 개위 신이 가게 다 송그랬 나나 가와레스 나나 나데 가와라스 이제 나사게 되네 딕답 탐제 다 놓여레스 나나 기타가 약보다 경에 바카레 종나다 배 가제 가서 경에 맞춰나다 가서요세 경에 바 파방게 말스 경에 바서 당들네 나나 나데 네 가와라스 가고 줌테 가르스나 나사게 랭에 딕답 탐제 다 놓여레스 다양 마나나 이니 약보레스 양 단절티 밀리는 뭐지 니 땡라 그냥 담비 수입에 효침보 에네트 드롭트고 요레스 델레테네 랑키 탐제 에네템 펜바자침 보인 거 요레스 어tinde송 요다 나나나데 가와라 송바테 다 갱에 남저케 에니야테네타 맹아르와스.
So we can use these when we read the life stories of the previous masters. There are many circumstances in these life stories where we can see how they have used these negative conditions to further their practice of Dharma. Also, we talk about these Kadampa spiritual friends. There's one lineage called the Kadampa lineage, and they're known for their pith instructions. So they have a saying, if I'm sick, let me be sick. That's okay, that's good. And what do they mean by that? They welcome this sickness because they realize that when we experience negativity, this is just the ripening of the negative things that we've done in the past. And once we experience this negative karma or this suffering, then we're free of these negativities that we have accumulated in the past. So they welcome the sickness. They don't try and push the sickness away because they see it's an opportunity for purification. But they also say that if I'm not sick, that's also good. So it's like it's okay. It's good if I'm sick, and it's also good if I'm not sick. So we covered it's good if I'm sick, and if you're not sick, this is also good, because then you have strength and vigor in your body, and then you can practice your Dharma in a more strenuous, so you can exert yourself more in your practice of Dharma. So both of these are good. When you're sick, you're purifying negativities you've already accumulated, and when you're not sick, you're using this precious human birth to engage in the practice of Dharma for the benefit of yourself and others.
당한서 갱에 동ар 종외 내갑스 아니다 동ар 대양 배 연대는 간데 열고 요래 동ar 때는 개비 털 간데 열고 있으나 다 동ar래 연대 요 동ar래 연대 옆에 서 삼당 거래 동ar 텔레 동ar 요발라 동ar 종말 때네 갱에 바 동ar 종말 때네 아니 다 나자르마 힌두고 요래서 되게 빼가 삼배 빼 뽑아쳐 보여래 다배 즉 동ар 효침보 전도 그냥 때 배념충 나자르데 마 힌두고 요래 다대 갱에 바 동ar 때는 종아래 되네 다 코르베기 때는 샘제 라양 때는 다 비칼라 이니야 때는 냥제 개투 그래서 나당 난다봐 코르베기 샘제 동ar 빠는 배바 용디 말이었어 다 동ar 등하나 동ar 등용도 아니 깔려 가복한데도 갱에 바트도 깔려 가복한데도 아니 현다 동ar 용도 아니야 깔려 가보여르스 갱에 바트 트는 깔려 가보여르스 되다 다 나당 아니 샘진이 직교를 직발했어 코르와 빨라 닝제게 아니 덱란 잠신 게라 가송바래 아니 다 저기 갱에 바당 동ar 트라포 용도 안테다 저 미게 왔싹 발라 때네 딘 드레브 동 용와인다 고 나사게 이니야다 가데 미게 벤 드레브 때네 다다 갱에 바트 종와레 다 친종 마옹 발라 아니 갱에 바당 동ar 트라포 메종메 체도 아니 미게 바강 톱도 빵게레 코로발라 닝제제 데글란 잠게 갈라가스 네 개와도 발라 네 랑kinki 네 가와케게 나도 네 갱에 바당 네 동ar 라 배 당도 렘베게 네 페용 된다 용고요래
So further, in this existence that we find ourselves in, there are, of course, many opportunities where we experience suffering and difficulty, but we say that when we're experiencing suffering and difficulty, there are actually positive qualities or positive aspects to the suffering. So how can we understand this? How do we see the qualities that exist within this experience of suffering? So when we experience this suffering, whatever it might be, so this is this negative condition, when we experience great difficulty, it can reduce our pride. So when things are going kind of really well for us, we get this inflated sense of self, this inflated sense of this confused ego. And when we encounter difficulty, this sort of brings us back down to earth, to say it in a colloquial way. So the experience of suffering or difficulty can undermine this pride, which is, we say, is one of the afflictions, and which can lead to gathering future causes of suffering. So the first point is that when we experience the suffering or these negative conditions, it can reduce our sense of pride. The second point is whenever we experience suffering, it gives us a very potent opportunity to meditate on loving kindness and compassion for others. So we know what it is like firsthand to experience whatever suffering we're experiencing in the moment, and then we can turn our mind to others and say, well, others are just like me. Some are experiencing the same suffering, some are experiencing even more suffering. So instead of focusing or being consumed by our own situation, we can turn our mind to others to develop these qualities of loving kindness and compassion. So this is another good quality that is inherent can be a good quality inherent in the experience of suffering. And then the third point is that when we're experiencing suffering, if we understand the causes of this suffering, if we understand that it's not just something random that is happening to us, that it has come about because in the past we've engaged in negative actions and thoughts and things like this, and because of this, because of the truth of karma, now we're experiencing suffering, this can be a cause, or this can encourage us to refrain from this point forward from engaging in negative actions and to take joy and delight in doing positive actions. So this experience of suffering can sort of self-correct our behavior. It can help us to turn away from negativity and turn towards virtue. So in this way, whenever we're experiencing suffering, we can look at this suffering and see it as an opportunity to mine the jewels that are within it.
동안 문용 칼라 에네 샘그 나라 대제 문에 전에 에네 야다 양다바 탑도 그래서 벤난가나서 실로 차바 효 첨보 야기도나 에네 수보텔 차바티 추데 노 그래서 에나 양아도 이제 정부 추이 나라 제자네 스위밍풀 나라 제자 심백갑라 에네 차바 빠바이나야 에네 차바티 그 룰 노고마도 와 그 추이 나라 있는 도도 열었어 대나게 에네 게행에 바 코로나 에네 야트네 람도 에네 캔도도 에네 다 차르바다 부케 에네 야티 동안데게 뇽 톱고 말했어 벤다고 잖아.
So within our lives, if we can learn how to take these negative circumstances and use these as means to progress along the path to awakening, it's a very wonderful thing. This will really significantly reduce the suffering that we experience, and this will be planting the seeds for this true, lasting happiness that is possible. So there's an example, for example, if it's raining very hard outside, we have aversion towards it. We don't want our bodies to get wet, and certain circumstances can cause us to get quite sick, and so it can be a really bad thing. However, if we've already accepted the water, so like if we're swimming in a pool, if you just jump into a swimming pool while it's raining, then we don't so much care about the rain anymore, right? So it's sort of like by jumping into these negative situations and sort of using them for everything they can be used for, these negative circumstances actually become a cause for development.
다 노랑가나서 에네 게행에 봐 강태용와나 디갑라 에네 템바당 시긴 때네 에네 게행에가 왕도 만로와 게행에 때는 창습을 남도 열터봐 단생게 때는 녀볼래 때는 넣어봐지 제게 인사하면 쌤고라나 양내 양도 담자세 양내 양도 에네 때는 게행에 남게게 에네 때는 다 냠내 즉제 토바나 당보다 때까지 가고 여지래지 다 이나야 되고 윤터네 나도 메트나라 냠네 제바나 땡 양잠세네 때네 거 은혜 전에는 야든 갱에 남자 양다바지 냠네 제투 그랬어 다당아도 빵자당 녀보니데 다다다변에 율라고 마안라고 잡힘be 까바레스 빵자당 녀보니 다 다당가서 내 당보에나 되네 빵자의 효체 녀보데 효 총그랬어 이나 되네 가두이나 딱바르게 대한 장대바이나 딱바거니 툭바잡 요되나 아니 용담선에 녀보데는 효체를 저 빵자의 효 총로는 아니 야 녀보야 용 그랬어 빵자 함로 그랬어.
So in short, we need to use these faculties of mindfulness and awareness to recognize what's happening in our lives, in our situations, and then when negative things come up, don't just fall sway to them and feel pity for ourselves about them and be consumed by them. If we have this mindfulness and awareness of the situation, if we can bring that to it, now we have an opportunity to use these difficulties and they can become our friends in our pursuit of virtue. So in order to be able to do this, we need to work at it again and again. Of course, in the beginning, it's not easy. But if we really want to use these antidotes use these tools as an antidote to this erroneous self-clinging, what we need to do is sort of vow to ourselves, promise to ourselves that whenever we experience these difficulties, these negativities in our lives, we're going to do our best to use them. We're going to bring these to our practice. So at first it's very difficult. But if you continue, then you really can develop the tools and the skills to be able to do this. In the beginning, it's like we have a little war going on. We have all these negative things in our lives, and these are sort of overpowering. We don't know how to bring these antidotes. These antidotes are something on the other side. So in the beginning, we're overcome by these negative situations, and the antidotes are quite weak. But the more we work at it, if these two sort of go to war, as Rinpoche was saying, at first these difficulties are strong and the antidotes are weak. But if we continue this fight, then slowly these negativities can become less strong and the antidotes can become more powerful, and the antidotes can win out in the long run. So it's through consistent applied practice that we'll be able to do this.
로종 돈도 대송게 되네 까담빌 라마 자체가와 공래 공게 송바레스 단쟁게 되네 강비 고나스 다 단쟁데 강바됐다 보잖아 빼 송바레 단쟁게 카르고나스 강비 고라스 아니 녀보 데단 동남게 되네 빵자데 녀몽데 에니야다 다다 보죠 단쟁데 에니야데 단쟁데 에니야다 가르세 녀몽데 에니야다 빵자 메드비 초된 가르바데와 대소다다 너나 제 삼모 현다가 강야매스 다든 젬비 강비 고나 녀보게 에네 동동은 하고라 동동 녀보게 동동 즉셈네 에능안도 대 샤요스 get 기파나기 되네 코드름나 나양 뎀스 코르나 나양 르스 코제도 다 빵자들어 빵자 코 빵자 단제 코야 효체를 온 것도나 아니 녀보 나양 에는 때는 릭바뎀기 삽삽치기스 군걸 휴기스 농티게 녀보 단 가데 빵자 메드비 초 아니야 다 단제 답 바 효청종 전에 바 솔로 제대도나 나양 때 솔로 제대 나서네 되기스 녀보 도승베데
The teacher of the 7-point mind training, so this verse, taking adverse conditions and using them for our development of the path of awakening, many ways to say it, but anyway, this verse comes from a tradition called the 7-point mind training. And the 7-point mind training tradition was founded by Kadampa Lama called Ja Chekawa. So he talks about it in this way. He says like this self-clinging is like a house. And the antidote to this self-clinging is like a doorman, a guard man, standing at the door with a spear. And he says, whenever these things that might attack this castle or this place, whenever they're coming at me in full force, then I'm very vigilant. I'm ready. I'm at the ready with the spear of the antidotes to take care of them. And if these sort of lessen or weaken, then I can relax. But in times of difficulty, then I'm really on attention. I'm ready to use these. I'm ready to use the antidotes to save or to. Actually, I don't get the example with that self-clinging. Kampadi daksingi pere.
네, 강바도 다 그런데 다 내산다고 다 단지 그런 내사때 간다 루네 왔다 이기로 왔다. 단지 강비 골라스. 아니 다 그런 도나한테 녀보 전시 때는 녀보 때네 되게요. 때는 강비 고드니 다 배당한테 꾸만다고 맨다고 제네야 강비 고드 랩종나 실로 랩종나 아니 교파시야다고 되게 저러와.
So the kuma labna ko the kampa nalo.
Ma da nanglo ne pa chilo no ba de. Kuma sana da danze da dun ze ba ko ya hyok che bo le yong do na en ka dong dong nya bo ke chom ge yin se ka chare.
So maybe letting go of the details. In general, when the things that are accosting me are at their strongest, then I'm going to be at the ready with my weapon of the antidotes. And when things are more relaxed, then I can also relax. So anyway, he's just saying that it's really important that we always maintain these faculties of mindfulness and awareness, that we're aware of our situations, and we're always at the ready with the proper antidote.
다 너나 나랑서 세당 메테 나라 다 동ар 망보 요래데 다 동ar 체규 대상이 가서 친로 내갑라 힘이 내갑라 다 동ar 체규 디갑라 용거 요래스 르라 나자 안에 샘라지 추낭기 동알 안에 소주케티 녜와 파마 대조 탐제 장도백 동알 안에 마음 바치 타네 다 깨와 있는 간데시 안 코르바케 있는 즉다 제 내송섬나 소베케 있는 내스기네 안에 동알 간도 뇽냐 삼베케 있는 즉다 대용거여스 다 상이 집에 내가 디갑수 다 동안 민종베게 다득다고 휴다고 뜻하르스나 다 쟁에 남게데 쟁에 남도 쳇터바이나 다 집에 내가라 동안 매비 땡도 다 샘라키다 가torche 뭐여스 나서 야와 공만 남지 그 당한 거 나라 송여레스 추바랍 아니 쳐발라 가스 다 추바 약휴 되나 되는 쳇도 다 당아 상이 신도고 스타페 가버레스 기버레스 추바랍 에너지는 시발라 가스 다 추반 등 아니 쳐발라 직다 매바세 다 직다 요 말에 다 나랑 강톱톱 잡아있어 직다 요 말에 다 추바 타마이나야 아니 시발은 줘봐 매봐 다 나랑 게 메세달라 강톱톱 잡아이 아니야 저 디바메 개와 강톱톱 빵 개와 강톱톱 줘봐이 땅아 시타나 누구 용게 말에 삼백이 다 된대게 아니야 되네 줘봐 매봐 되는 용다 다 상이 하나도 신도에 내가라 동안 매비기 땡도 샘다페 가와당 쪼바이 된대게 서로바이 깨네 아니 쳇도바나 어다 히라게 앙땅보 나도 메데들 추르비게 단 제비 약휴도 때레스 집에 내가라 아니 동안면 좀 같아 다디 자득 단단한 제고 요레스 자득 약휴지 아니 갱에 남게 된 바레스.
So of course in our life we're going to experience many things that do bring suffering to us, and we can say one of the greatest sufferings we experience is at the end of this life when death is approaching. Maybe there's a lot of illness or sickness or difficulty in the body. Maybe there's a lot of worry in the mind. We have friends and family around us about which we worry. And maybe we're thinking about, oh, when I die, what's going to happen to me? You know, we talk about rebirth in Buddhism, and some rebirths are better than others. So maybe there's rebirth or worry about perhaps taking lower rebirths. So in order to not experience this uncertainty and to not be overcome by worry at the time of death, what's the best thing we can do to prepare now? That is working with these practices of taking adverse conditions as the path, folding them into our practice of virtue. And if we can do this, if we can learn to do this well in our lives, then at the time of death, we won't have great suffering, and actually there can even be some degree of joy. So the great masters of the past have said that for a Dharma practitioner, for the highest level Dharma practitioner, when they're approaching death, they're actually happy. They're happy because they understand the nature of the reality of this thing that we experience. They're not overcome by its confusion. They have great confidence in the path and their realization, so there's nothing to be sad about, and in fact they can be excited about the next part of the process. And even if you're not the highest quality practitioner, we say for the middling level practitioners, they're not afraid. Again, they're not afraid because they're confident in what they've practiced, what they've understood about the situation, about the nature of samsara. And even for the lowest level practitioners, they have no regret. So no regret means they're confident. They know that they did their best to abandon negative actions as best they could in this life. They did their best to engage in virtue, and they feel like they've used their life well. So they have some degree of confidence that really bad things aren't going to happen to them because of the truth of the path and the truth of karma and effect. So again, if we want to prepare to have a more positive experience at the time of death, and we do need to prepare, the best thing that we can do is engage in this practice of taking adverse conditions and using them as means to propel ourselves along the path. And if we do this, then at the time of death, we'll experience very little or no suffering, and there can actually be very positive feelings that come about. So now is the time to practice, though. Now is the time to put in place these plans or do the preparation to be able to do so at this time. And again, the best way to do this is learning how to use these negative conditions as friends. Mi sarpakashi yore, konta di gomtang shingi bare, rimshi do dupas ji suna. So now I've given this brief presentation on how to take adverse conditions and use them in our practice of the Dharma. And now let's take a little bit of time and do some meditation. We'll do meditation for a few minutes, and then after this we can have some questions and discussion.
Tandi nan manghu de ane tangata gom ke sange gom ke nanga hinge tendere ane mixeng tanda ine hyune se taka de tuzo me ba ga hyune tonda smendo ta hina yang di nan sarpa khaje yojeres ane sarpa tezol megne nge ine ta gom se jute khandes ja gosena ta thomar ane lu ji lu dia thangbo sang 다 디제스 드네 다 내가 체규 드네 샘지 내래 드네 샘지 내세도 다 그래서나 네비게 콜라 아니 다 남도 칸 마담 바제 마음비 콜라 인디야 내가 인디야 게 삼도 마담 바제 다다 그래 네 샘 코랑 내로 랑히 간데 도나 디게 인디야 랑올라 아니 마연 제네 하고잠 뭐히잠 되게 땡도 아니야 말소와 나히진 르지 르네 샤바이나 안 되게 샘라든 말소 탭그레스 샘라야 말소 탭발라 때네 르장에나든 말소랑 인지 탭용 그랬어 세상 곰 세주대 다 저기야 마음바다 샘지 내로 또는 상계 공방 톱세기 여다 인다인 내가 삼노당나 제 루당 샘라 말소베게 되네 탑람 쳇바도 봐봐지레스.
So many of you, most of you perhaps, have experience, a lot of experience with meditation, so I don't really need to give you any advice or instruction about this, but some of you perhaps are newer to it, so thinking of you, I'll just give some brief instructions here. So the first thing you need to do is let your body be relaxed. Don't have any tightness in your body. Just sit there relaxed, maybe a little straight, but with a straight back. And then the second point, the first point is placing the body, then the second point is placing the mind, and this is most important. So how do we place the mind? So for this time, don't think about past experiences or anything that has come before in your life. Don't think about the future, don't make any plans. Just let your mind rest however you find it in this very moment. Try to just merely know what is happening in your mind. Just be aware that you're aware. Don't let yourself be distracted from this. Just rest in this nature. It's kind of like you're just letting the mind and the body rest. So if you continue with this practice, of course, in the future, this can lead to the realization of the very nature of mind, and this can lead to the state of Buddhahood. But now, in this very moment, even though that's the longer-term goal, the shorter-term prospect is, this is the most profound way to truly rest the body and truly rest the mind. So try and place your body and mind in that state, and we'll rest for a few minutes.
las that ne di jela chwa yu na song nang de do.
So now if there are any questions, we can have some discussion. Hello. Do you believe there are such a thing as karma experienced by groups of people? Like right now in the United States, a lot of people think that the current leadership is creating or is manifesting some unpleasant karma, or maybe we're the recipients of unpleasant karma. But right now, the political situation in this country is something that's causing a lot of people a lot of pain. So I wonder if you could comment on that.
Le secondi. Le secondi da. Da chiongi le secondi gorbe. Chiongi le. Geri le dam chiongi le. Da di pedi de dengsangi arila. Natsogi pomporwa. Tes nyokta sabodu. Da nyokta mama shengi du. Kon la tene natsadi. Netso tes ken sabochi. Dunga mambo kegi dus. Di natsogi chiongi le yina.
Re das le gerge le da chitungi le de ni yores. Chidung le de ngang to tang to mong ge ne je gang en yong ko ya de ko chidung le de ni chung des.
So directly to the question, yes, there is something called collective karma. So there are two types of karma. There's individual karma, which varies from person to person or individual to individual. And then there's also something called collective karma, where groups of people would experience similar results. Leaving the political commentary aside. Now, but what collective karma exactly we have or are experiencing or why, that I can't exactly say. Isn't so much like you all. Chikta.
I'm just trying to think. Sorry. In Christianity, many people are blamed for their suffering, that they do not have enough faith. And I am feeling echoes. I'm having a hard time, since that's my how I was raised with that in my mind. It's very hard for me to step into karma, and that people who are suffering don't somehow deserve it based on, I mean, and I'm not saying that I believe they deserve it, but I'm having a hard time separating out those. I'm having a hard time framing my question clearly.
The first part's clear. So in Christianity, we say people are told that if they suffer because they don't have enough faith.
Yes.
Right? And what did you say about karma,
the question with
though?
So I'm having a hard time. I feel like that's getting fingers into the way I'm that speaking of suffering as an opportunity to burn off negative karma, but that it's arising from negative karma. It feels a little bit like people who aren't suffering deserve not to suffer, and people who are suffering deserve to suffer. And I'm sorry I can't make it any more clear than that, but if you can make it clear, I would love to hear, to have help stretching that thought in my head.
I think I could speak to it better than I can translate it.
Da yishugi lukla rawa. Yishugi chu lukla. Ke duga mambo yuna. Ke depa mepe takres. Ke depa mepe takres. Yishula depa shukchambo yuna. Ke dunga kegi mares.
Kare ke
Yishula depa shukchambo yuna.
yuna
Dunga kegi mares.
dunga kegi mares.
Yongi mares. Jason ke dunga yuna. Da di depa mepe takres.
deba me tares
The legudre shedu kapsu marang di mikashi dunga marangi sampala mikashi la matok dunga yomares. Mikashi la dunga yorawa. Konsogi dunga yuna. Konsogi dunga di kare di kiepe gyumsin yores. Kewa ngomala konso dikpa sakwarwa. Peche marangi sampala mikashi la dunga yores mikashi la dunga yomares. Dunga yuna konso kanus lokare. Zugu sugeres. Ke dunga yores kanisana kewa ngomala ke dikpa sapare. Dik karangi kyores. Di demparo chok chikne di demparo wa. Not a dikpa migewa sakna dunga yomares. Ine di zugu suge drapo res. Tanga yapo gyur tukumendu.
te
Davam shedi Jacqueline Senior test kala kapi insere. Kien sanga yam she.
tate keda te ba hagumaso yeshu glogla
Chichen nga di dresha yapo gap tukimendu. Ine pecha len test gap tukire. Nga chik labna.
tate red all up
So I'm having a hard time like conveying this in Tibetan in a way that Rinpoche is going to understand it, yeah? But maybe if I say, in a sense, you're right. If what I hear you saying and your problem is that when people experience suffering, we're like blaming them for their suffering, right? Because we say that they've engaged in negative actions and that's why they're experiencing the suffering. In a sense, that's just true from the perspective of Buddhism, but that's not excusing anybody else who is a perpetrator of that suffering, right? Right? And it is true that no matter what the suffering is, no matter why it's come about or how it's come about, that we can use it. I mean, that's also, I don't think there wasn't a problem with that, was there?
And I do think that even just in, that also just remembering, like stretching out the concept of suffering is really useful too, like going back to all of samsara as opposed to the way it can get very pinpointed that this person has this disease or this person has this suffering, that I think that that's part of the problem I was having too.
And it's a very broad view, right? It's not
Right.
talking about necessarily things that have happened in this life. So a lot of people have a problem when they hear like when a child dies very young. Like it'll be said that there's karma that like we think of children as being innocent, right? But when we think about, we've been taking, and they are innocent in a sense in what they've experienced in this world. But since we all have this long history of being in samsara, engaging in many things, there are reasons that things happen that we say are tied to karma and our past actions. But it's not saying that this child, like in this life, is somehow bad or evil or anything like that. It's a little, I don't know if that helped or made it worse.
Hello. So similar lines of maybe not Christian thought, but the concept that you spoke of earlier with respect to the relationship you have to somebody who is causing you suffering and the way you use that to improve your own situation, to learn from it. How would you compare that to sort of what I see as a more Western concept of forgiveness, which is sort of handing something back to that person?
Forgiveness. And what do you mean by that? Like handing something back to somebody?
Well, with forgiveness, you're sort of actively forgiving somebody. and it's sort of this connection you're going to make to them where you're trying to release them from something potentially or absolve them of something. Whereas what I heard earlier was in that same situation where somebody is causing you suffering, I don't know that there's that same connection. I'm just wondering if there is that kind of connection where between your intention to that other person necessarily.
Me shembachi ngato nupa kiana ngato di yishigi chulukla ngato gi chiongi nupchogi tawala forgiveness second chigyore michi ngala nupa kiana ina nga di semla nyargi mes I forgive you ke ngala dupo jason ina laso nga di semla nyargi mes da ngato dra ke nga dra yins nga drangi windows ngato di nampe chulukla di yore bes
Te tayin den drawo da drawo de hina te sablu cheba da tayin te pe drandawo no ba chinge chona ta no ba ko pe kaden chembo yins genge lamge da pe hyuk chembo chen ten kola ine pe chamba gom ningje gom kol kaden chembo yin pe samlo tang en de telatene genge ba telatene ngarang ki lo te chin chule jortop 단테 배지 제 상계 장주 셈바 남지 그 뚜바 인게 생활 나랑 그 녀몽 들베 탑 라인에 뚜바데 이샤서 엔텔야 대바게 어떤데 저 단다제 forgiveness 되다 거대 약보다 해서 이내 권인이 때에서 삼삽 그 개발도 왔어
맞아 엔데네 나츠 덴데 상거봐 코 카요 말레스 코 녀몽몽 디쇼레스 디 요레스 딱고 단데테 너바 징게텔라 노래 맞아 봐텔라 제 삼로 땅땅 망보여레스 제가 다이 나게래 딱코 녀몽 왕도 절바래 나 녀몽 왕도 절바래 콜라 카요 말스 콜라 랑왕 요 말스 그 드네스 삼로 땅네 에는 영차 검거레스
Yeah, so there are aspects of this. So on the one hand, when someone causes harm to us, like we've just talked about quite a bit, we see that as a great kindness. We can use that as an opportunity to meditate on loving kindness and compassion for others, but also as well as for this person. And again, so we think about this person in terms of, instead of holding a grudge against them for doing something negative to us, like we had in the story of the person who robbed this lama, right? We think, forget about holding a grudge. Oh, you've been very kind to me. You've done this thing, but actually this has been a great cause. This has been a great opportunity for me to turn my mind towards the Dharma, to view this circumstance in a beneficial way. Perhaps we even can consider them like emanations of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas coming to teach this. So we can say there's an element of forgiveness there, and maybe it's even more profound than forgiveness. And also, we also think in this way from time to time. There are many ways to approach this. And we touched on this a little bit. When someone does harm to us, instead of holding a personal grudge against the person, we look at the greater situation. And we realize that, okay, what they've done to us out of confusion. They don't understand the nature of reality. They aren't in control of the afflictions, just like I'm not in control. The afflictions come up and I fall sway to them. So, just like me, they're confused. Just like me, afflictions arise in their mind. And they've fallen under the sway of the affliction and caused this harm to me. I shouldn't hold a grudge towards this person. I should hold a grudge towards confusion or the afflictions. So this is, maybe we don't have the exact word in Tibetan, but forgiveness seems to be there.
Thank you.
Up top. Yes, up top.
Thank you. I work with indigenous and veteran populations. We're having unprecedented amounts of suicides lately.
Okay. Did you say just veteran populations or something before that?
Veteran and indigenous.
And indigenous.
Yeah, Indian Health Service. Yeah. And we're also seeing these rises in our population here in our country. I was wondering, what is the Buddhist take on suicide, the act, and is there a repercussion for doing something like that? And how might we better, and I'm a hospice nurse as well, so how might I better my relationship with the death of others, that it doesn't bring like destructive forces within me, just the sadness and
I see.
things
Mainly how to keep from being sad?
I guess. I see a lot of suicides
Yeah.
and a lot of people with the ideology.
Yeah.
It causes suffering within me, I guess. But
Yeah.
I guess, is there a repercussion through his teachings, or your teachings rather,
Yes.
for that act?
Okay.
And how might I be able to talk to somebody about, perhaps persuading them not to do it?
Okay.
거기 나서디 막 갭게 뭐와 비리 막 갭게 조그러와 select 와 강연 mambo 첨부 트랙에 되니 거기 나서디 ngomagi arigimi와 American Indian ngoma arigimi Coachella ropa jegiore ngomagi arigimi nalola 되니 막 갭게 막사 갭게 콩 니kal라 di ramshi 갭게 mamadus ramshi 갭게 mamadus. So now that you want to China, ramshi gyapna, da di dupo segede, then a drebo karins, dambodire, then a michik ramshi gyapki yena, na karilabna pentogere. Chichena go keche yaposhena, chichena pentogerewa, kundi. So kandis pentogere.
Da Kewa ngachi ke lenge, kewa ngama tang chima. Tanda di xie song ne, tanda yang kewa chima ke lenge. Tanda kangza chigla, ane, chig india ta, rangi kiamna, ane, pe dikwa chimbo yoba. Ane, maung pala kyurang india yang, kewa tsara tamche tu tanda, rangi kiane, xinrongi, tanda kewa lenge res. Tanda inza, tanda rangi kiamna pe me se dikwa chimbo res. Me sepa, me hyanda sepa, tang rang sepa ni, ane dikpa chachung chikpa res. Chu nga du nangpi chu kake nangla song yore, ranghi kyabna, kyewa nga ja kereng la. Mu to na, ane ranghi kya koya, tinte ine ya, tin rebu dunga nyungko da song yore res. Da pene che kyewa nga chi ke lenge ina, tezo xie na, tine nga pendo chenpo yungo res. Da kyewa nga chi ke melen ke ina, ta nga tanda xie song na, tine rangi kya xie song na, tine tsarwa res. Ko kyewa leya yo marwa. 다 저절로 양고 저단계 있냐다 저랑 기점네 돈다 요 말세 다 갑텔라 그런 게 있냐더니 팬백에 삼바 간데 고도 절다기 떨어졌는데 랍자 잡나 야보인로.
So for people who believe in past and future lives, for those people, we can explain to them that it does say that in the Buddhist teachings, that if one takes one's own life, there's not much difference between taking the life of someone else. It's still the taking of life. And of course, that creates an imprint or a karmic pattern in that person's being. And so the way karmic patterns work is then there's more propensity to do the same thing again. So it's considered a quite destructive and negative pattern to have inside of one's being. There are some texts where it talks about for people who commit suicide, it creates this pattern to do it many, many, many more times. So perhaps if someone believes in that type in past and future births, and maybe that's not very many in your population, but if they happen to believe that, perhaps if they understood that, maybe that would be beneficial. For people who don't believe in past and future lives, who believe that once they end this life, then all of the experience, like maybe all experience altogether, will end, then not sure what to say to someone like that. But for understanding that just because the body dies, the difficulty of the suffering that one experiences isn't going to die, perhaps, and it can even get stronger. Who's to say that things can't get worse, So again, for this population that doesn't believe in past and future lives, I think you just need to look into your own experience, look into their situation, look into your experience, and see if you can find some means that might be a benefit to them. But I don't know exactly what to say about that. Maybe down next, and then, is there another question down here? Yeah.
Thank you for coming and being with us. It's very appreciated. Tonight you've talked about accumulating aspirations that lead us to being here and hearing the Dharma. So I hear people talk about when I die and I am in the bardo, that I want to choose my rebirth. I mean, I think someone said that last night, and it's the best example that I can give, that there's this feeling that I have lived many, many times, and that I will live many times more. It's my understanding that as Buddhists, we don't believe in reincarnation, but we believe in rebirth. To me, that's something quite different than I.
What's the difference between rebirth and reincarnation?
To me?
Yeah.
I think reincarnation in the Hindu sense is that this being, this person, will be that will experience life after life after life. My understanding of rebirth is that I have a certain amount of energy, and since energy can neither be created or destroyed, that when I die, that will go into the great pool of energy. And that in that great pool of energy, because of certain qualities that energy carries, I will be attracted to, I mean not I, but that energy will be attracted to the similar kind of things.
Okay.
Like is, but not that me, that I'm not going to, but that energy would be attracted to being, say, human, or if I had certain qualities of pride, that I would be reborn in the God realm. But not me. I'm sorry, I said I. But so I'd like to know what the Buddhist view on rebirth, reincarnation is.
Chokchine nga di dark second yomares, dark second troopers, ine nga dian lakire. Nga kewa mambo nang la dipasa parwa, nga kewa mambo nang la dipasa da yopa kecherwa. Da mong pa nga dila kewa shomoshok, nga dewa chen la kewa shoks, da nga kecherwa. So nga di kewa nga chi la tene, kewa nga chi ki kechore, da yo dan dak maybe kechorwa. Di drava di countries comes. Just go nyopu dus.
어디 가요만. 다낭아도 다 매세야 그 다데 간데스기 열세나 다 대야데 무보 줘봐 딱봐 엠봐 njurba mepa ta ko pe tharsong da wo rangchen ji trap da ba zes trapa ta pen chulo khaye tinde kheleng yores da ji yus da de ta bu ke da de ne ya ngu bo trap ke da de me se ke to da de ena ta ne nga to ma to pe ngola ene nga sam pe ke gyu ji phongbo nga bo ta nga ju sok ji phongbo chor phongbo 풍부기 견들라 아니 나스다 맹 따요 잠시 다 켈랭그레스 다 딱봐봐 다맹 따셔봐 근데 저 켈랭그레스 내가 군접이 왕도잖아 안 돈 담바다 돈 담비 추니지 왕도잖아 아니 다 여바다 매베게 다 탐제다 아니 트라스와레스 다데 데스 사보여레스 내 당부 바이나 데스에야 고갈레 가보여레스 다데 곰잡네 아니 즉 추니 다 차자 전부 돈 떠송나 아니 은혜 전에다 다이 촉 특別다 지유 삼백이 다데 아니 얘기 말했어 다 시는 얘기 말했어 띠도다래.
Yeah, so this is can be a little confusing, right? So when we say that there's no self, what we mean by this is, and some religions, some traditions do say, they say that there's like some substance, some like entity. Maybe this is the Atman of the Hindu tradition, right? There's some entity that is permanent, that is unchanging, that is sort of existing within us somewhere, and we die in this very solid, substantial, unchanging thing, then goes to the next rebirth. So we say that this isn't true, that the self does not exist in that way. However, I mean, from the relative point of truth, we do say that when we look at, what we call in Buddhism the 5 skandhas, right? The skandha of form and feeling and perception and all these, we can ascribe a name to this phenomena that all of us are experiencing in this room, right? We feel like we have our individual selves. So from the relative point of view, I mean, it's okay to say that we do ascribe this term self to this relative phenomena that we experience. But just because we do that, it doesn't mean that it truly exists from the ultimate perspective. So from the ultimate perspective, we say that the self, when you look into it through the investigations you do in meditation practice, you don't find the sense of self. And then when you realize the dharmata, when you realize the true nature of reality, when you realize Mahamudra, you see very clearly that there is no truly existent sense of self in that way that we spoke about just before. But this is quite subtle. And this isn't something that we're going to be able to grasp or truly understand conceptually as beginners. So from the relative point of view, there is the sense of self. From the ultimate point of view, it's not something that's truly existent, it's just this phenomena. And we're going to understand this deeper and in a more clear way only through meditation. And through the meditation, this can become more and more clear and evident to us.
I want to thank you for coming and thank you for your teachings and thank Eric for your interpretations. My question actually is an addendum to the suicide, and that's on abortion, where Buddhism looks at abortion. And the woman obviously is the one who makes the decision to do it, but the man is involved in the conception, so I'm just curious about that.
About what exactly?
Well,
about the role of the man?
Well, no, okay, yeah, the role of the man, for one thing, and also...
role meaning like to see...
does he collect karma like the woman would? And how is abortion viewed in Buddhism?
Da dengsang di kemenchik pumochik pugu chaknarwa, kashe di pugu di meka sogarwa, abortion segere. Dene naukachu wangdu chena, di country segere. Di yapare dupores, dene di pugu di bumo zupo nangla yarwa, dene di kyoga yang di urokpa je parwa, ama di pugu meka sona, di kyoga di yang dikpa sagere ves.
다 부고 매바스나 득바요레스 메세바다 찍바레스 고베나 부고 매바스다 다이나 매바송게 때는 아메 매바스나 아마 득바용게 빠비 든 깨자 빠비게 있는 든 세코르서 까당네 세바이나 든 빠발에 있는 득바용게 와스 저당 득바요레스 메세베게 찍바레스 그 그한테 메이크 룰랑타레스.
So from the Buddhist perspective, again, it's it's a being. It's a being that is just inside the body. So there's not much difference between killing a being inside the body or if the being is outside the body. And in terms of where the fault would lie, that would depend on who's making the decision. So if it's strictly the woman's decision, then it's hard to fault the man for that. But if someone is being forced to do it from the outside, like by the husband or by the father, then of course greater fault would lie there. It just depends on where the motivation or the encouragement is coming from, I guess. One up top, up in the balcony.
Rinpoche, Eric, it's wonderful to see you again after so long. Philosophers and ethicists are beginning to address the question of our responsibility to emerging AIs, artificial
Oh my goodness.
intelligences, neural networks?
Have compassion for the translator here.
Okay, how was your flight? The question is, is there any sense or is there any discussion or awareness of the possibility of sentience emerging as really these programs are gaining maybe some sense of self-awareness? Is that a possibility?
So Deng-san,
Good luck.
Thank you. Deng-san, artificial intelligence. Artificial sena mi segyu, mi sogyu. Artificial, the natural mayempa. Rangshingi mayente, artificial, mi sogyu. Intelligence sena rikpa. So Deng-san ganso di mobile drapo yena, computer drapo yena, konso gi computer gi soken rwa, konso sampla di computer di sanlo tang tupna, temisibe yapores. So Nganso la di semchinyena semyerwa, semchinyena semyere. Di konso di keishin kepa chakne, konso gi di computer gi soken rwa. Keishin kepa chakna, konso sem so tupkerebes.
Ki ja shi na sem.
Konso di computer soya la kepa chakne, konso gi nganso gi sem. So tupkerebes.
Sem da so tupji margo. Sem so tupji mare.
And Deng-san di Rinpoche di korla kecha gonyonge di
Manyo.
lama chimpa so di korla kecha shirwes.
The robot ndawo.
Long.
Rebe.
Mare di lachin so ke dan gyatsa Rinpoche dan di gyon karmapa di korla di kecha gonyonge
Kare sem soya.
long.
Ti kola sem soya. Te keja te ko manyo.
Lesson.
Sem soya yuji mare.
Lesson. So I'll tell you how I phrased it, yeah? I said these days people who make computers, they're trying to make the computers intelligent, right? So artificial means man-made and intelligence means like a reasoning mind. So do you think it's possible that people are going to be able to create mind, like through computer technology? Through technology, we'll be able to create sentience or mind. And Rinpoche says he doesn't think that this is possible. And then I asked, do you hear, are people talking about this, Gyaltsen Rinpoche, have you heard people having discussions about this? And Rinpoche said he isn't familiar. Probably this has come up in the Mind and Life conferences with the Dalai Lama, so maybe a Google search on that might turn something up.
Yeah. That's it. That's it, though.
So you had said that when beings are highly realized, they look forward to the death process. And I'm just wondering, when somebody like that is seriously ill, do they not seek any medical intervention? Do they just are not attached to that, and they just do what they need to do to go through the death process?
Just let themselves die, basically.
Right.
Chupa rap yena, chiwa kapsu di gawa yores. Rinpoche songsunga. Jesang di chupa rap yena, konso di natsa shu chimpa pogna, konso da menchi tangi mes, menchi gogi mendus, karin sena, chiwa gas. So dindere bes, yamene konso.
Dindere mare se. Yang bet hi chok na dawa. Tanga Higgins, this and death in the Yamars, young Rangi Jayatla, Dravo Yores, Nevo Yores. Mihibic Tapse Yores, kind of Lund Sach Mores. In a young in the Yashina, and Chabar Massanga in the Apachingam Royal Sopa, and the Yatoni Chaja Chambo Gom in the Hiala Sopa to the Yores, Dick Don and the Gavatan dropping on Higo Yores, Hial Gazia Teres. Mato yang menju chigmi ta hena he chu yin se yang te chena te sin ti mares.
So it wouldn't be okay
for even a highly realized practitioner to sort of, certainly not actively seek death, because it says they're joyful about it, right? So now we're moving, something close to suicide, right? No, to actively seek death, I'm saying. It wouldn't be okay because that's getting close to suicide, right? I know that's not what you said, but that's what Rinpoche is answering. And further, similarly, if one gets sick to not seek treatment, this is also kind of not okay from one perspective, because the precious human body is very precious and it can be used to be a benefit to a lot of beings. So it makes a lot of sense to want to be able to be around, and maybe they're not full, perfectly realized Buddha yet either. So to continue to develop and to be a benefit to others, it's good to seek treatment if one can stay around. But when the time does come, and the time will come, that death comes, then at this time they're not afraid. They're happy because they have a lot of means at their disposal, like practices such as Mahamud and other things that can be done. So they're sort of excited to engage in these, and it said that things, Rinpoche didn't say this, but it says that things can open up, right? Our realization can be expanded because it's a precious opportunity. So in this way, they're excited about the opportunity, but they're not, just casually giving up on this life at the same time. Is that clear?
What about I see it here in the States all the time where people have a terminal diagnosis and do everything they can to stay alive, like radiation or chemotherapy or surgery, but they're actually going to die anyway. So if realized being knew that their treatment wasn't going to save them, but it would maybe prolong them a little while, could they make that choice to not seek that treatment? Or would they be obligated to try to live longer for the benefit of other beings?
Samsamla, di arila di shu champudu, tawadi shu champudu. Michi lo champocha, natsa mambo po, da pecha gyopo shigire, da di tak chesare. Yine menchu pe shuk champo, chik tangna, da wa chik donra nis chik chena ragire. Yine di menchu di so mang che wala pe nugire, sem nugire, zupo nugire, and gone chena di donra pe shuk champo nagire. And dundak knees matok harage mare. So juncture simple simchin pen togarwa zambling la degore sugore. Jason koso inji menchu tangores dundak knees matok marakna ne sam dan lugi dunga mambo yongires di menchu di jepalatene di mambo yongires inji menji jegores kanesena da konso yurimbo sugores dende yena.
Re da menju 제고 송요레스 베타 탑시 차장 마저 받은 menju 제고 송요레스 탑시 차장 저선 들어봐
나서 이 아르라 samsamdi 망자기도
망자도 그래 그래 다들 딱딱 지켜래.
So this kind of depends on the situation, if it's a treatment and there's going to be a lot of benefit, they're going to be able to stay for like years and be of more benefit, then of course that seems worth it, right? But now we're getting into a really nebulous thing that's kind of difficult to parse, and Rinpoche doesn't have much experience with what it can be like at the end of a life here, where people are doing all kinds of things, where there isn't really much hope, and death is pretty much certain, So from one perspective, they want to stay as long as they can be of benefit. But then also you have to look at the circumstance. Are they going to be able to be of benefit, or is this treatment so strong? It's kind of like the extra 2 weeks that you get, you're incapacitated. Then, does that make sense? Doesn't seem like it. You have to kind of just judge it on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Toche. Daya check.
One more.
One more. Yeah. There. There.
Make it a good one, Tara. This is the last one.
Okay, last one. That puts a lot of weight on me. But I spend a significant amount of time avoiding pain, not just time, but lots of substances, marijuana, narcotics, the possibility of surgery, because I have a bad spine. And I know a lot of people do this. So I'm wondering just what Rinpoche thinks about trying to alleviate our pain all the time. And in all the different ways that we try to do it. I don't know if that's the last good question or not.
Great question. Managi nata shoot champo chikdu get a pay shoot champo nagidu. I mean pay miss pay shoot champo.
Morala.
Marala. Jason di man pay shoot champo sagidu. Go test kogide. And some la di adila dengsan di tamak napo ten chogide. Kanin sene natsa mambo pay pentok champo do. And the tamak napo mambala di sem go kogimare yene zupo pengide. Jason dengsan ten chogide. Amchi so lakido. So Rinpoche di Kyangyen Drogshar di Kecha Mambo Sungsonga, Kamo Mambo Sungsonga. Ya yine marangi sampala natso gi dunga yuna, natso shu champo yuna, natso me persona digire bes. Chichene natso di bechu tangares. Me persona da Kyangyen di Drogshar di Gokap yomarwa. Kesan di zuk shu champo gyapna, zuk di me persona digire bes, zuk chakna digire bes.
Ten digire ta te ni ja chene. Ta telerawa. Zuk na champo jabit ne kabla. Any soak de meba soya la mesa. Any young tongue make ba gom. Tan de soak de nasa de jawa ngamang le ngamba sak pikin rebu de. And le ngamba kang sakpate tamje. Ta jangwar hyo. Semje tamje landita nata yoba te tamje ngendi kochoba hyo. Samba te samlo te hyok shambo. Tang ne me de nyamdo sa. Senda de nyamdo tado jides. Luke Nazate meant to get same good Nazate get in a gang and draw here get Mikba gomne, tra the Nija Tana with it.
Good. So when we experience strong physical pain, like very specifically to your example, it's okay. We can do things together. We can do two things at once, right? So you experience really strong, intense pain. It's okay to do things to make that pain go away. And at the same time, we've spoken a lot tonight about taking negative circumstances to the path. So is that like copping out and then we can't take these negative circumstances to the path? No, it's not like that. We can do both at the same time. So you have this strong pain and you take the medicine, but you don't only take the medicine. You also reflect on the fact that other sentient beings are experiencing similar things. You do what we call taking and sending meditation for them. You reflect for yourself, the reason that I'm experiencing this difficulty is because I've engaged in unskillful actions, negative actions in the past. So that'll make you more careful from then forward. You further wish that just as I want this pain to be gone for me, I want this pain, all pain, to be gone for all sentient beings. So by taking the medicine, we say this can alleviate the pain in the body, the suffering in the body. And by doing these contemplations, this can alleviate the greater suffering in the mind for you and all sentient beings. So by taking this, may I be free of it, may all beings be free of it. So do both.
So nam de tamje zeba ne tomne ne be Pamje ne jega na je balawa droba sebe tolen droba ra hyo.